Tuesday morning. You know, as a matter of fact, write that down. Tuesday morning, Dominique Strauss-Kahn, 100 Center Street, 9 o'clock. 100 Center Street. You get there early enough, you'll find out what part it's in. I don't know what part it's in.
23rd?
23rd. Next Tuesday. We took a stand because we saw that this sister was raped in plain sight and nobody would stand up. All these revolutionary groups in New York that claim that they trying to tear the government down, revolutionary, and all these communists, and they reading the red book and all this other stuff, but when a black woman gets raped, they look for a rear door somewhere.
Yes, it does.
Matter of fact, some of them even said, well, she brought it on herself.
I didn't know that.
She lying. She was talking to a guy in a federal penitentiary.
So?
Some even claim, well, if he forced her to have oral sex, why didn't she do something? Why didn't she bite it off? These are black men and black women talking like that. I've been taught that if you ain't got nothing good to say, shut the hell up.
Right, right, all right.
How the hell you gonna tell a victim she should have did X, Y, Z? As if she's trained in combat. Meaning you are not trained in combat. Y'all just look for tall grass, or y'all just put your hands up and hope nobody busts your head.
Right.
And gonna make her turn into some Bruce Lee or something. And break Strauss-Kahn up. She was surprised, like any woman would be surprised. You coming to clean a room, not to go up there to be raped. So these groups, the real story got to be told. That's why this history committee, you need to be on your A game. If you don't do what you're supposed to do, you will be written out of history. Now that young sister who just did the spoken word, she mentioned some great people in our history, and she mentioned one name that you never hear in our history. You don't know the name? Nat Turner.
That's right.
She mentioned one name that you will never hear in our history. I'm not talking about when you whispering to somebody on the corner and Nat Turner's name is mentioned. I'm talking about you will never see it on TV or radio discussed in public, Nat Turner. You never hear anybody say, I come in the spirit of Nat Turner. Because you know what white folks going to do if you say something like that.
Never heard it.
Here, Nat Turner been dead, let me say 1831 to now, that's 171 years, and 11, 181 years. Wait, 1831?
82.
Yeah.
What's that, 100? Is that 181? 182? 182?
Yeah.
He been dead 182 years, and most black folks scared to mention his name. Ain't no schools named after Nat Turner. Ain't no avenues or blocks, no institutions named after Nat Turner. It's safe to name it after Harriet Tubman or Frederick Douglass because they worked with the government. It's not safe if you mention Nat Turner's name. Our scholars don't even mention his name.
Teach.
And yet we had a young sister just mention his name in spoken word. I hope she carries that to whatever school she goes to. We need that.
Right.
If you didn't know better, you would think that there was no automatics in New York. Here, they bring in that professor from Harvard, and he talks about the case of, what's the case from South Carolina, from Florida? Casey?
Casey Anderson.
Casey Anthony. Here he talks about that. They spent a whole weekend, 2 weekends in a row, talking about that case. And they won't even pick up the phone and say, well, Brother Alton, what do you think about that case?
Right.
Now, we were here. Alton broke down that case and mentioned things that, what's the guy from Harvard? What's his name?
Cornel West.
from Harvard. Not Ogletree, not Skip Gates. What's the law?
Cornell.
What's his
Cornell.
name? Dershowitz.
Right.
Dershowitz. They bring up Dershowitz, and that whole KISS crew is like, oh, yes, yes, yes. Oh, yes. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. But for Dershowitz, hey, a man that hates black folks because he teaches at Harvard University is looked at as a god. Yet the person that won every case you thought couldn't be won stands among you, and we don't even give him no credit.
All right.
Right.
Can't even get on a radio or TV program.
Tell it.
Been without a job 21 years. I can't imagine what it is to have studied from early in the morning and late at night, falling asleep with a law book on your chest and waking up 5, 6 in the morning with that law book still on your chest, and then one day somebody tell you can't practice.
Right.
I remember Judge Bruce Wright said to me, I wish that Alton stole some money or did something.
Yeah.
He said, at least if he stole some money, we could get him his license back.
Right.
You know, because lawyers sometimes will steal an elderly person's entire estate, clean them out for $2-3 million,
Right.
and they're not really in touch with their family. Judge Bruce Wright said he wished that Alton Maddox did something, committed some kind of crime, so they would have a way to now alleviate things and to get them back in the courtroom. He said, but that brother just marched through his own beat, and he did things that people just wouldn't tolerate. You know what he did? He represented us.
Yeah.
That's what he did.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's the crime.
I was out there with John White. We stood out there the whole time with John White. John White had a good attorney. His name is Fred Brewington. I don't really like to say his name too much, but I gotta say it tonight. This is the 23rd anniversary of UAN, so I'll say it tonight. Fred Brewington is a brilliant attorney. Knows the law books as well as anybody. Knows what needs to be done. But I saw something in Fred that wasn't right, so I would come back to Alton Maddox and say, XYZ happened in the courtroom, and I seen a look on Alton Maddox's face, but he didn't say anything. And I would constantly keep telling him, and then after a while, you know, Alton Maddox was shaking his head, and he knew that John White didn't have a chance. Because the things that Fred Brewington wouldn't dare do, Alton Maddox would have been doing since day one in the courtroom. So, black lawyers read a script. They are brilliant, they are well trained at whatever university they've gone to, but they will go but only so far. Most black attorneys wouldn't be caught dead in here tonight.
That's true. That's
They
right.
study too long. They've been to the Ivory Towers, all these Ivy League schools. They wouldn't be caught dead in here.
No way.
A man that could practice law the way Alton Maddox practices would never be caught dead around people wearing African attire and saying them God with black power and all that stuff. Would never be caught around them. That's why every time I see Alton Maddox, I'm centered. I'm humble because I say, man, you know, I feel for Alton Maddox.
Right on. Right.
21 years. 21 years. And I'm thankful because it was always therapy for me to go by the slave theater. I wasn't doing anything for the slave theater. The slave theater was doing something for me. Because sometimes I wanted to see manhood.
Right on.
Sometimes I wanted to see black intellect.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I wanted to see high principles. I wanted to see Marcus Garvey present day. I wanted to see Malcolm X in a courtroom when I saw Alton Maddox. Malcolm wanted to be a lawyer. Now, what would Malcolm have done in the courtroom that you haven't seen from Alton Maddox already? Tell me. It's obvious Malcolm would have been a brilliant attorney. By the way, you know, give Michael Lloyd. I just said no lawyers would be caught dead in here. We got a lawyer right in the back. Michael Lloyd, you just messed me up. I said no black lawyer other than Ultimatus will be caught dead in here, and you walk in.
Always an exception.
But right, there you go. Who said that?
Marty.
Brother Monty, always on point. Like Ultimatus will say, it's always an exception, but that don't break